So, dogs are my life, and anybody that knows me knows that about me. I chose purposefully not to have children, but I made that decision and decided to have dogs. They are just so um, forgiving and loving every day. They do not care what you do, how you look, even how you speak to them. They will still love you the next day and still want your attention and affection. So I think it's magical that I've learned a way to speak to the dogs and communicate with them and develop that bond, that is kind of almost more trustworthy than a human because I know that they're not going to hurt me and they're always going to be there for me. So as long as you can get that positive communication going, it's just the best thing in the world to have a dog. I can't imagine not having a dog. It's the older I get, the more scary it gets losing my dogs and how that will feel as I'm older. And when will I ever feel like maybe I can't handle a dog? At what point would that be? So I'm at that age where I start thinking about that kind of stuff, and it's difficult. You don't want to get a dog and potentially something happen to you, and then, what's going to happen to that dog. But at the same time, that dog would probably rather us give him a home, even if we could barely walk him, and just have that companionship and worry about that bridge when they have to cross it. Some days I'm so sick that I can barely get out of bed, and they never leave my side. Like, I just can't even make it to the door to let them out, but they do not bother me. They just sleep there with me. Or if it's like through the night illness, they'll sleep all in the morning. It's just the sweetest thing. They just want to be with you. And then I lived in Norton on a farm when I first moved here from Kentucky. I rented like a 1 bed, 1 bath, real small piece of a barn turned into a little apartment. Couldn't have been more perfect for myself and my dog, Charlie Brown, I came up with. We lived there, and they had a llama, a goat, a sheep, a bull. It was an easier transition, coming from Kentucky, being able to live on a farm. I'm not a city person, but my first job was teaching Head Start in Brockton. So now if I had myself to tell, I'd say, don't take that job. But I did, and I'd lay awake at night, cry myself to sleep worrying about those kids. And, it was rough. It was, I'd send them home in a fresh change of clothes and a diaper, and they'd come to school, that much 24 hours later in the same exact things, diaper and everything, and they'd say they hadn't eaten since. I'd say, what did you have for dinner last night? And they'd tell me exactly what I gave them before they went home, for 3 o'clock snack. I had blueberry muffins and milk. That wasn't your dinner. That was snack, But they wouldn't have dinner and wouldn't have breakfast except for if we fed them, and abuse and whew. But I also worked in the Head Start system in Kentucky in that small town before I transferred here. So it was also kind of rough, but I guess I was more acclimated to it because I had lived in Kentucky. So I understood how the population was. But coming up here was a little rough for me. They ate me alive. I had to stop doing that. But that's when I discovered dog training. So I was meant to be, I guess.
Our dog's attention. This is very important. It seems like something super easy and maybe boring, but if you can master this here, and then you can master it in all the different rooms of the house, and then you can master it outside in the yard, in the front, in the back, then you should be able to use it when you're on walks and your dog begins to be reactive. You should be able to get their attention easily, as long as it's been a highly reinforced behavior in all different environments.
All throughout my life, I had been telling my parents, I'm going to be a dog trainer when I grow up. But then there was no such thing where I lived. There was no such thing as a dog trainer. Nobody trained dogs. They ran wild and did what they want. Procreated and, were wild. So, they would say, no, you can't be a dog trainer. You need to go and get some other kind of degree. So, teaching degree has suited me well. It was the best decision that I could have made because dog training, you have to be able to teach people. You have to be able to train people. You have to be able to reach their how they think and how they respond. It's not necessarily the dogs that I'm training, it's the people that I'm training. But loving dogs definitely helps. So, growing up and conditioning myself for this career by working around the stray dogs that were free to me to work around and building that confidence and knowing I wanted to do that. And then coming here with my teaching degree in my back pocket and seeing that sign that you could really be a dog trainer, that was like the shining pinnacle moment of my life. And it's brought me to here. So, I love that.